We saw earlier in this module an example of when we get a Sass error. So here we're going to force an error, so we're just using a variable here that's not been defined. And if we save this and take a look at our styles here, notice that we get this syntax error not defined. We also get an output in our web workbench output here, telling us that we've got this undefined variable and which line it occurs on. But notice in the overall error list here, this shows up as a warning, not an error. So we don't get our build failing. Even if we turn on treat warnings as errors here, and we just go and force a save, again we get our error, but notice again that it's still treated as a warning and the build for the project doesn't fail. When we get an error though, we can see our CSS doesn't output any styles at all, so when we run this in a browser we'll notice that there's a problem. But it's just something to be aware of if you're expecting Sass errors here using Web Workbench to cause an actual build error. So let's just go and fix this error. And if we save this now, we no longer get an error, and we get our styles output in the CSS as expected. If we want to, we can output our own debug information, and we do this using the debug directive. So here we just say debug and then give a string to output. And if we save this now and have a look in our Web Workbench output, we can see that we get this debug message here, Sass is awesome. We can also emit our own warnings, and we do this using the warn directive. So here we're just outputting a custom warning, and if we save this, notice we still get our debug message here, Sass is awesome, but we also get this more prominent warning message. And here's our custom warning text. We can use the warn directive in combination with the Sass if directive. So one example of using this warn directive is that, say we're writing a mixin, we can actually put an if statement inside the mixin to check that the parameters supplied to the mixin fall within a certain range. If they don't, we can output a warning. And we'll see how to do this in the next module.